welcome to the January 25th meeting of the Bethel Inland Wetlands Commission. I'd like to start the meeting off with a couple of housekeeping items. One is we can start with the staff and the commission introducing themselves. I'm Ken Stevens, and I am the chair of the commission. Peter?
I'm Peter Samardik. I'm vice chair.
Greg Johnston, Commissioner.
Lou?
Hello.
All right. Lou, you're on mute.
Why don't we introduce Pat Sell in the meantime?
Yep. Patricia?
Hi, Pat Sell here, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Lou David, alternate.
Thank you, Lou.
Dave
Awesome.
McCollum in the Wetlands agent.
Thank you. The other housekeeping item I want to cover is just that on part of the agenda this evening, we have a public hearing, and there's guidelines we need to follow when we are comments. You need to raise your hand. David will unmute you, and we need you to state your name and your address. Address your questions to the commission, and after all
Ken, I don't know if you can hear me at the moment, but I think we may have to resort to you just using your audio feed for now.
questions from the commission to the applicant. So with that,
Ken, can you hear me?
yes, I can.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. You're lag spiking on us with your audio feed.
I'm going to turn off my video and see if that helps.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to repeat the instructions you just gave.
Okay, I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with the applicant, and then the staff will speak, and then we'll open the floor to the public. If anyone in the public audience has a question, you need to raise your hand. David will unmute you, and you need to state your name and your address and your question or comment and address those to the commission. Once all questions or comments have been presented to the commission, the applicant will have an opportunity to answer those and then provide any additional information they choose. And then questions from the commission will be presented to the applicant.
Okay. Ken, I'm gonna jump in
With
real
that,
quick.
I would like to open the public hearing
Yep.
for the applicant.
Yep. Ken, I'm going to jump in one more time real quick because we have to put the public notice in the record. So I'm
Okay.
just going to share my screen real quick to pop that up on my screen. Peter, can we have you read that for us, please?
Sure. The Bethel Inland Wetlands Commission will hold a public hearing on January 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. via Zoom web-based video conferencing to hear the application of David Pinnenberg for regulated activities located at number 64 Worcester Street. Said meeting can be accessed with the following Zoom hyperlink or telephone number. And then it gives the Zoom link, the meeting ID, the one-tap mobile. Proposed regulated activities include the construction of a 7,560 square foot building, stormwater management system improvements, and associated site improvements. The property can be found in the tax assessor's records as map 21, block 39, lot 20A. At this hearing, interested persons will be heard and written communication accepted. The application is available for review with the following Google Drive hyperlink, and that hyperlink is in the invitation. Dated this 12th day of January at Bethel, Connecticut. Ken Stevens, Inland Wetlands Commissioner Chair.
And would you mind reading where this notice was posted and the dates it was posted through?
It said to appear on www.bethel-ct.gov, January 13th through January 25th.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Sorry about that, Ken.
Okay. I've forgotten how to read, I guess. But there we go. So if we can now open the public hearing, Mr. Marcus, are you here representing the applicant this evening?
I am. Good evening, Ken, members of the commission. For the record, Neil Marcus, Kona Wolf, PC 158, Deer Hill Avenue in Danbury. And I'm here on behalf of the applicant. And as I look back, we first came before this commission at your meeting of November 23rd, 2020, at which time we introduced the application and talked about the limited scope of this proposal. And the result of that introduction was the scheduling of a site walk, which was to have taken place on December 5th, which I believe it did. And the request was for staking corners of the building and some of the other aspects of the site plan, catch basins, etc. And I hope those were all done to the commission's satisfaction. And this evening, we're basically here to again listen to the public's comments on the application, since it's a public hearing. Even though, for the record, we are not aware that any petition was filed by the public to hold the public hearing. And in reality, I'm not sure any finding has been made to date as to a significant wetlands disturbance that falls under the requirements for public participation. However, we're anxious to hear from the public because that's why we're here. The other thing is that Steve Trinkus should be on the call, and I see him in the on the screen. And I'm going to ask him to run quickly through the site plan as it pertains to the upland review area and the proposed regulated activities, if you will, Steve.
Yep. Thanks, Neil. David, would you allow me to share my screen, please?
Certainly, Mr. Trinkus, screen sharing is enabled for you, sir.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, everybody see the site plan?
Good.
Okay, for the record, my name is Stephen Trinkus. I'm a licensed professional engineer in both Connecticut and Maryland, with an office at 114 Hunters Ridge Road up in Southbury. This is a 64 Worcester Street, has an existing multifamily house on it and a garage. It is located on the west side of Worcester Street. And looking at the vicinity sketch in the upper right of the plan, this is Worcester Street, this is Juniper Road, this is Keeler Street. Along the eastern boundary is a drainage ditch intermittent watercourse, which is piped for the majority of its length, except along the eastern side of this property. Going to the existing conditions map, which all the base surveying was done by Sidney Rapp Associates. Based on prior applications for the town of Bethel, we had provided the signed sealed electronic copy of the map. One of Wright Pierce's comments was to provide prints of that plan, which we're happy to do, along with a response to their comments and David's comments. So we have the single family house in the center northern end of the site. The garage is near the western property line. A driveway comes in to the garage and a little bit of pavement to the back corner of the house. The majority of the area, except for a little old concrete foundation, remains is, lawn area. There is a sewer easement that runs through the site from Worcester Street to a manhole west of the site. And that easement is as of record. There are some outcrops of, potentially rock on the extreme northwest corner of the site. We had Jim McManus, a certified soil scientist of JMM Wetland Consulting from Newtown, look at the site to determine if there were any wetlands along this intermittent stream corridor. There are no wetland soils. It is simply the intermittent watercourse or drainage ditch through here. One of the, again, comments from Wright Pierce was whether there were alluvial soils here. While alluvial soils are also regulated being a floodplain soil, the soil itself is not a wetland. It is an upland soil type. But according to the FEMA maps, there is no flood boundary along here, nor are there alluvial soils. So we just have the line of the water course as the regulated area. Taking the upland review, that is this heavy line that I'm tracing with my mouse right here. It's a little more than 50% of the site. The eastern portion of it is within the upland review. The western portion of the site is not in the upland review area. The proposal is to construct a residential apartment building of 7 units along the western property line, improve the driveway access where the current driveway is, widening it out, and also having a single entrance driveway coming in off Worcester Street on the east side. The driveway in this, where the existing one is, would be a true in and out driveway. We are providing parking for the new apartment building and the existing units in the 2.5-story house and 2 potential apartments within the existing garage building here. We have a retaining wall and or potentially a ledge cut. We did not do soil borings up here. While there are some outcrops where we don't know the extent of the ledge, but if ledge is not there, it will be a modular block wall. If their ledge is there, it will be a 1-to-6 cut into the rock as far as that goes. The buildings are off the sewer easement, so there's no conflict. While some of the parking and the dumpster pad is, these are at grade and do not affect the integrity of the sewer line in any shape or form. From a stormwater management perspective, we have to address 2 things. We have to address water quality, as Bethel is an MS4 community as determined by DEP, and also peak rate attenuation for a 25-year storm. There's a series of catch basins on the site, one here, and another one here. The flows all come to a manhole where there is a restricted outlet to direct the water quality flow, which is a flow rate to the water quality volume, which is the first inch of rainfall that will go to an ADS water quality unit. There is a bypass pipe for flows larger than the water quality storm right to the detention system. This is an underground Cultex system. It's a 20.5-inch tall system with 6 inches of gravel under it and 6 inches over. There is an outlet control structure on the southeastern end of it with a pipe down and a short riprap swale to direct the flow into the intermittent stream, which runs back to the north. The stormwater report has all the computations for the system. It easily complies with the peak rate attenuations. The water quality flow is also provided within those calculations for the ADS unit. Wright Pierce had a question why we did not use the manufacturer's data versus what I use as New Hampshire Stormwater Center. Manufacturer data is not necessarily real world data. The UNH data is. It is a 9-acre parking lot that comes to their treatment facility, and they even the flows out to all of their practices so they can evaluate different practices on an even perspective. Their water quality unit has been was one of the first systems they put in back in 2004. In the real world, they are very efficient at trapping sediment. There is basically first a vertical weir from the bottom going up to trap sediment behind in the first roughly third of the system. Then there is a vertical weir coming down to trap floatables in the second system, second part of the component. And again, as the first inch of runoff is the dirtiest runoff, that is why the system is an offline configuration. So that volume and flow rate is treated, and the rest of the water beyond that, which is relatively clean, simply goes to the detention system. We did look at a series of test holes out on the site to see if infiltration was possible. It's really not. We have hard pan soils at varying depths. We also have a mixture of what we term urbanized soils. We found some brick debris amongst other things. The upper profile was sometimes mixed. So this is not an infiltration system. It is simply an underground detention system to provide the zero increase in runoff. The site utilities, while there is an existing gas line that comes from the west to the house, one of Barry's comments was, how are we going to deal with this? We're actually going to cap this off just inside our western property line, because we're bringing in new gas service lines from Worcester to the existing house, to the new building and the apartments in the garage. Same thing with water lines. Everything comes in off Worcester Street. With the sanitary sewer line being on the site, we're going to be running our sanitary lines, obviously from the existing sanitary line at two locations, as that makes the most sense, instead of coming in from Worcester Street, as far as that goes. We have a comprehensive erosion control plan. The stormwater detention area is here. For the ease of reading, we didn't show it, but we have the Filtrex sock below that. We have sock below the riprap outlet. Is also another sock along the 3 parallel parking spaces here. We have the construction entrance. I think one of Barry's, we do have a soil stockpile that's up here just to the west, to the south of the garage area within the parking lot. One of the areas was labeled, and one of the comments, and we'll submit revised plans of this, was there around each catch basin there will be a silt fence. Only one of them was labeled. One of the changes of the plan is to copy the label to each of them, so that as the catch basins are installed, a silt fence will be staked around them to prevent sediment from going in them. It generally does not occur because the top of the catch basin is 12 to 15 inches above the sub-base layer of the driveway. Even when you put the gravel in before pavement, you still have a 3 to 4 inch difference. So it's never been my experience. It's always been my experience that we never get water into the catch basins, because except what falls on them, we don't get it from contributing areas. The existing driveway will be used for construction. The new driveway is one of the last things we will do. So that's why the anti-tracking pad is 18 foot wide and not the full width of the driveway. It doesn't need to be, because we don't want to put in the brand new driveway and then be running construction equipment back and forth over it, for the duration of the project. Those are the control measures. We have a traffic plan, which is not the wetlands jurisdiction, so I will skip over this. Sheet 7 is a comprehensive erosion control plan that exceeds the requirements found in the 2002 guidelines for form and content, as far as all of the information, the construction sequence, seeding mixtures, maintenance schedules, plan objectives and principles, etc. This is pretty much verbatim the outline of it that's found in the guidelines. We just have a cross section of the building units. They will be stepping down the hill because of the grade, and the parking follows that. The parking is actually a 6% grade, so it follows the first floors. And this shows the potential ledge or rock cut or retaining wall to the western side of the building. The grade would pitch from the building back to the base of the wall or cut. There would be a curtain drain at this point that any water from further to the west of the site would be picked up by the curtain drain and diverted around the building, and then discharged to the east of the building footprint as its existing groundwater. So we have our construction details. One detail that inadvertently got left off, it was on the plan, it wound up being on a layer that does not plot by AutoCAD, is the catch basins, which actually is sitting in here. So on the revised plans, I moved that to a layer that plots. I see it on the screen, but when you print it, it doesn't plot. So I didn't realize that it was on there. This is the generic detail from ADS for their treatment systems. While it shows possible pipe diameters that this can accept, the pipe sizes are specified on the site plan for the in and out going into it. We have the detail of the Cultex system and our outlet structure, which is a manhole with a concrete weir wall in the center of it, and then the orifices are cored through the weir wall. So this provides easy maintenance for the detention of runoff for the outlet structures. But as we're treating, all the catch basins have 2-foot sumps, and as the ADS unit is treating the water quality flow, there really should be nothing that ever gets either into the Cultex system or into the outlet structure at all. We have a landscape plan. There'll be behind the building arborvitaes, which will green giant arborvitaes that grow very thick and dense. There's flowering plants, azaleas, and some pin oaks. One of Wright Pierce's comments was to put the abbreviations into the landscape table, which will be reflected on that. We have bollards for just ground lighting in the parking area. There's no pole lights proposed here. It's just there would be some lighting on the units above doors, but in the parking lot itself, they'd simply be bollard. Sheet 11 is the vehicle movement plan, which again is not a wetlands issue. So I'm just going to go back to one of the stormwater site plan, which shows the majority of the information. As I said, we will have a written response and revised plans. A couple of the general comments is we will add a snow storage area off portions of the parking lot here, which would be above the stormwater system. As the snow melts, it would go across the vegetated surface, and ultimately some of it would infiltrate into the upper soil layer, and the rest of it would flow through the grass, ultimately getting into the intermittent stream on this particular site. There's been some questions in the 2 staff reviews about the soil types. The NRCS mapping shows this is a Class B soil, but the soil tests that we dug here clearly show me as an engineer that it's Class C. That's why Class C was used in the groundwater recharge volume, because that's the type of soils that actually exist on the site. The NRCS mapping is really broad stroke mapping and is not detailed for a particular site like this. Let me just see if there are any other comments. There are no temporary sediment basins or traps. The total area of disturbance is 0.4 of an acre. So very, very small. It also does not require a connector general permit by DEP, because that is for 5 acres or more site disturbance as far as that goes. So as I said, we expect the commission to continue the hearing. Before the end of the week, we will submit electronically and in printed form revised plans and the stormwater report. One point that Barry picked up, actually in the stormwater report, the impervious cover for post-development conditions of the entire site, not splitting it to the detention and the bypass, actually was low. The numbers for the area going to the detention system and what would bypass it, such as the portions of the driveway which drain out to Worcester Street, those values are correct. So one thing we'll just redo is rerun the total post-development. But since the stormwater detention system and the bypass are the correct values, it doesn't change the conclusions that we're providing the zero increase required by the Bethel regulations. That was an oversight on my part. I didn't pick it up when I printed it. Other than that, like I said, we will have a written review, written responds to both sets of staff comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trinkus.
Thank you, Steve. At this point, we're going to rest as the applicant. We've kind of explained the whole project, and quite honestly, I'm not sure that it's all that complicated to grasp. It's a very small site, and as Steve had said, we don't have any wetlands issues on the site, and the issues that we are doing as part of the upland review have mostly to do with how we're handling drainage. And I think you've got a fairly fairly good explanation of a well-engineered drainage plan that meets the state requirements. So at this point, we will be happy to answer any commission or public questions or hear any comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marcus. Peter, wrong name, sorry. David, did you have any comments or questions for the applicant?
Yes, I have comments just in general, and I'm going to speak them both to the applicant and to the public. Mr. Trinkus, unless you need to share your screen or continue sharing your screen, I'm going to stop your participant sharing. Thank you very much. So my comments tonight are going to be general in nature, with the consideration that we will be continuing this public hearing to wait for the applicant's response. I'm just going to touch up on some broad topics that I think we need to be mindful of. The first of which is, it's been mentioned that this is a small site, a small site in nature. The area of the property itself is not, it's a small acreage. It's less than an acre, if I'm remembering correctly. But I think what we're trying to focus on here with reviewing this application is the intensification of the use of the site. I'm just looking at the existing conditions right now. There are some impervious areas that aren't highlighted around these existing structures, but and I'll stand to be corrected at any time, but what's being proposed is you have these structures here with an increased area for parking and this structure. And one of the issues or one of the items that this commission is being charged to address is where ultimately the water from these impervious areas is going to be directed or discharged to. We do have a stormwater management system that's proposed. We do have an item that's said to have a treatment function. And then for how the system appears to be designed, there is an overflow which would discharge into what's being called here a stream, an intermittent stream per these plans. I think we've gotten a lot of information so far from an engineering perspective in terms of how the system works and some other comments that have been addressed, such as the nature of the soils and the location of other items that aren't on these plans and what have you. But I think there are some other things that haven't been talked about yet, and that stands from the wetlands itself. First off, just to go back to a comment that was made by the applicant's counsel, this is a public hearing, and the reason why the commission thought this application was worth going forth for a public hearing was the proximity of the activity to the wetlands, especially with this component here and the public interest. I'm going to cite in the Connecticut General Statutes under section 22A-42A subsection C. This is from the statutes themselves. The Inland Wetlands Agency shall not hold a public hearing on such application unless the Inland Wetlands Agency, and it goes into two other reasons, but ellipses, finds that a public hearing regarding such application would be in the public interest. I think with the public that is in attendance here tonight, that there is a public interest that has that is been calculated correctly by the commission. And moreover, that speaks to the fact that we have this activity here, and there's some information that's still undetermined at this point from a soil scientist's perspective as to how this is going to possibly impact this, or whether it would impact this from that matter. Not to dive deeply into my comments, but we need to have documentation from the soil scientist that says what's going to happen with all of this engineering over here on this portion of the site with respect to this. And like I said, I really don't want to get into the comments too much. I think one of the items that's been mentioned is the component here is that we have this water that's coming from the impervious areas of the site. Yes, we have a stormwater management system that's been installed, or that's proposed to for that design. But I think we need to hear from a wetlands perspective as to whether or not this is going to be what this site needs, what the wetlands needs to avoid any potential adverse impact. We have our consulting engineer, Wright Pierce Engineering, that's going to dive a little bit more into the engineering comments, why some of the perhaps some of the comments that Mr. Trinkus hasn't mentioned already. We still have unknowns apart from the engineering that need to be addressed. I think the commission still needs this information before they're going to come to a decision. As straightforward as the applicant may think this application is, we still need to have something that says this area that is going to be used for where the snow goes, that it's going to have some kind of treatment function to prevent any pollutants from entering the stream. That in the instance that we have the system still functioning beyond the first flush, that it's going to continue to function the way it should so that no pollutants enter this stream. And moreover, we need to have something that clarifies what this is. The term intermittent ditched watercourse was used, I believe, in the soil scientist report, and it was mentioned on the site plans here. We need that information, and I apologize if I sound like I keep harping on that, but I think it's really important that we have that. We will have these comments that come in from the applicant, and I look forward to seeing what the soil scientist has to say, with regards to what's going on here, because in my opinion, I don't think a significant impact can be routed out just yet. In terms of whether or not one is likely, we need to have that on the record from the soil scientist. I'm going to try to keep the rest of my comments short, as if they haven't been already. Items that needs to be addressed, making sure that the stormwater management system, we have numbers that are consistent. I think in the engineer's comments, he refers to a brochure that shows that cites where the pollutant loading numbers are coming from. If we're going to have numbers that are provided by the applicant, we need to have a cite from those. I'm not going to dispute what those numbers are and what they say. I'm just saying we need to have something that's clear for the record, so that way the commission can work with the best information that's out there before they come to a decision. Because without that, the commission's going to be left in the dark with this application. And I think that would be a huge disservice for them, and for the applicant as well, to not have that information before the close of this public hearing. So I'm looking forward to what the response comments will be. from the applicant. I'm looking forward to getting updates on the plans, which include some certifications from the soil scientists, the flaggings, other items that include, what's going to happen if this stormwater management system doesn't work under the best case scenarios, and whether or not we really have to be concerned about potential significant impacts. I'll jump in with more comments perhaps after our engineer, consulting engineer, Barry Parfit has a few comments. I'm assuming he's here and ready to give those. Barry, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent, thank you. I'll give the floor to you for whatever comments you may have.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Barry Parfit, professional engineer with Wright Pierce in Middletown, Connecticut. If I may share my screen, Dave? Let me try.
Yes, you may. My apologies.
And Barry, just for, I don't know if it's my ears, my computer, or what, but if you could turn your volume up just a little bit, that would be very helpful.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hopefully this is better. We'll just review a few of the highlights from our comments and just confirm. My screen is sharing. Once it's visible.
Yes, it is, Barry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just wanted to highlight some of our comments on their engineering review. First of all, we do recommend to the commission the requirement of the showing of structures and other features that are about 50 feet outside the property. That was one of our general comments. There are a few structures around the property. I believe that there is a, if we look, I can draw this in here. There's a structure here about, and then another one down here somewhat, another one over here somewhere. So just showing those structures and other features we had highlighted on our comments specifically that are in the requirements would give the reviewers a better sense of the surroundings and what features are just outside of the property. Another comment we also would like to just recommend is the clarification of items that are proposed versus items that are to be removed. If, for example, we could just look at another the next sheet here. It is unclear sometimes. It seems obvious that things will be removed, but it's just not. It's not really spelled out on the drawings. For instance, we have concrete or a concrete foundation here that is shown as remaining. I'm sure that it's being removed as part of the project, but it's not noted as such. Concrete curbing noted across the parking lot, pavers over here, and so forth, are just make it difficult to, or confusing to look at the drawings as to what is proposed, what is not proposed. And so that was a general comment as well. Moving on to the stormwater comments, we reviewed the stormwater calculations. However, really to complete our review, we don't have a clear pre-development and post-development subcatchment map. And I'll show what we do have here as part of the report. I believe it's on page 27. This was what was submitted, but it's unclear from this map what areas are the proposed subcatchments, the existing subcatchments. It's noted there. However, to really review the HydroCAD results and see how things match up, what areas are being referred to, we are asking for a full-size pre-development, post-development subcatchment map that will identify the different subcatchments that are being used in the HydroCAD report. This will also help us to understand the flow paths and so forth. Along with that, regarding the subcatchment areas, we believe that just the property, the area within the property is being considered as part of the watershed. However, we really do highlight concern of perhaps increasing this area if the area perhaps off to the west is actually contributing flow across the property here into this property and is making its way into the stormwater system or through some parts of the stormwater management system. That may need to be considered as an additional watershed or catchment area that is included and should be included in the sizing of those components of the system. Another point regarding the water quality unit, the ADS water quality unit. Let me go to sheet 9 here. As Mr. Trinkus did note, the pipes coming in and out of the unit are noted. However, in this detail from ADS, there are multiple sizes for this unit, as are shown in this table here. The main pipe diameter of the unit can range from 3 feet to 5 feet, and that is this main compartment or component of the ADS system. So we'd like to know what that size selected is. We didn't see that in the report or the drawings, and also how that was selected because of the flow or the flow rate that's being treated. That can dictate how large or how small this needs to be sized. Also, perhaps the sieve size inside the unit, all have an influence on what size unit is being selected here. And regarding the removal rates, we did note the differences between UNH and ADS. And yes, as we had noted in our comments, a reference to or providing a copy of those results or how they determine those results would be good, because we did include in our comments a copy of the ADS's brochure with the removal rates that they are using as a manufacturer. Regarding our comments regarding the sediment erosion control narrative, there is a sheet here for the narrative, as Mr. Trinkus had pointed out. We are asking basically for more site-specific information that would be included in the narrative, such as the area of disturbance relative to the erosion and sediment control dates, planned dates for the project ending and starting time and so forth. So those are just some high-level highlights from our comments, but we'd be happy to discuss any additional comments from the commission or the wetlands agent.
Thank you, Barry. I'm just going to jump in real quick, if you don't mind, because I have one more thing I think is important to note for the record before we continue on with the responses and or other comments. In terms of existing conditions and what's out there, I think it's important to note that while the commission did conduct a site walk of the property on December 5th, there has been some change in the site's conditions since we were last there. Barry, if you don't mind, I'm going to commandeer the screen briefly. Thank you very much. Of course, no, there we go. This photo, or the photos that I'm about to show, were in the Google Drive, and they were placed there before this past Friday, and these photos, they show a difference from what the commission observed in that there has been mature vegetation that has been felled and removed from the property without anything from the commission authorizing the applicant to do so. And this is what I'm saying about having the information that the commission needs. Regardless of where it's coming from, the commission needs to be aware of what's going on, and more so, the applicant shouldn't be taking any actions without giving the commission that information. In terms of how long ago this activity happened, or the duration for which it took for these trees to be felled, I'm not so sure. But I'm hoping that's part of what the applicant would clarify for us. It's just more information that the commission will need for their decision. This activity, I don't think, should have happened in the first place without having the commission be made aware of it as part of their activities. And like I was saying, I look forward to what response is given by the applicant either tonight or when this public hearing is continued. And that's all my comments I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. At this time, we can open the floor to the public. And I remind everyone that David will unmute you. Leo, I see your hand up, and you are not on mute. If you would like to start with your question or comments, do feel free to do so.
Ken, I will gladly give Mr. Kiefer a chance to give his comments. I just want to make sure for those that do not have a camera, or for those that are perhaps participating in this meeting by phone, and we don't have the ability to see you visually raising your hand, there are two functions that you can use to do so. The first of which would be in the Zoom platform itself, if you are using a computer, to click on the participants icon in the toolbar that appears, bringing your cursor to the bottom of the screen. You would click on that icon, and in the list of names that appears on the right-hand side of the screen, you would click an option next to your name that says to raise your hand. That lets us know for the record, just like Mr. Samardek, that you have comment that you wish to offer as part of your public testimony. For those that are participating by phone, I believe you press #6, and that lets us know that you also have comments that you'd like to give. I will unmute people one at a time so they can give their comments. Ken, I'll give the floor back to you so you can give the protocol on what people have to do when they give their comments. Thank you.
Indicated earlier, and what David just took us through from a process perspective, I just want to remind folks that you do need to state your name and your address, and then address your questions or comments to the commission. And when all public comments have been heard, we'll ask the applicant to respond. So recognize Leo Kiefer. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
It's correct, yes. Yeah, my name is Leo Kiefer. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me here. Unfortunately, I didn't know about this project. I'm the neighbor from the 20 Cavalier Avenue, which is south of this picture, what you have, 5 feet border from the construction. That's my property behind. I can give you like a lot of information as practical, because I lived there for several years. And I can tell you about this water runout during the rain, during the winter snow, and about the floods which happens to the neighbors behind me, behind my property, south, up to third floor of third property. Usually when the water is up and the stream, actually, you cannot call it a stream, it's a ditch, very shallow, and the water is mostly not pitched, the surface is not pitched properly down. It has a problem to flow away down the hill, right? So it stays there. The property behind me, now I'm saying about the public information about, are usually flooded up to the basement. They have a basement water in their houses. They have to pump the water, okay? Especially if there is like a stream ending at the end underneath the street. There is a pipe, probably like 24 inches diameter. That tends to clog when there is like some debris on the water. There are a lot of leaves in the fall and a lot of water coming from the hills around. Same like Mr. McCollum mentioned, there are also houses around and there are hills around. And everything is sloped into this ditch for the rainwater. Rainwater usually is supposed to be absorbed by the percolation in the ground. But since you are 40% of this property will be concrete and the new buildings, so all this water which is supposed to percolate will go into this small ditch, this stream. And that will create a real problem, especially in the heavy rain. We have a lot of thunderstorms and they are really strong and they are really downpours. In this moment, everything will be flooded and will be back up to my property. Fortunately, my house is on the hill is not affected, but I'm talking about the people behind me in their interest. And they will suffer. And you will have a big concern. You should have a big concern about their flooding and their properties, values and condition. Okay, good. This, as far as this, and I would like to have more inputs during the meeting. Okay, I really support both of these the concerns that you have, Mr. Collin and Mr. Trinkhouse, and it's already really important to have this information and investigate it properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm not seeing anyone else that has hand raised at this time, but I will do a quick remind for those that are in the audience trying to figure out how to participate. You would click on the participants icon at the bottom of the Zoom platform. The list of names appears on the right-hand side of the screen. Next to your own name, you would click a blue button that says, that essentially lets you raise your hand. That lets us know you have comments you want to offer. For anyone that's partaking in this meeting via phone, you would press #6 on your phone, and that also raises your hand. I'm still not seeing anyone at this time that has new comments to offer. I will advise that I believe we'll have a period after the applicant responds, should they respond, for additional comment to be given by the public.
Okay, David, it looks as though Mr. Kiefer wanted to make an additional comment.
Yes, pardon me, I know, but then I may have more questions for you. I thought like only about this drainage is the issue we are dealing now with, but also in the plans, there is no mention about the safety, public safety, and especially for the children. Okay, when you look at the section AA in the picture, there will be a retaining wall, which will be probably more than 6 feet tall, and will be narrowing down to the walls of the house from the western property. Please have a look on it. And since there will be some plants around, but the children are very curious. They go around, they play hide and seek. They will go to this property on this dangerous slopes. And you may have a problem there for the future. Okay, so I just wonder why there is no some kind of safety fence built around this ditch, and also the whole property all the way down to the brook.
Mr. Kiefer, I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah.
The comments that you're currently making are more relevant to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it's not really under the Inland Wetlands purview, but I do appreciate your concern.
Well, sorry, I thought it's a public safety. It's a really issue of public safety. Okay, and also this section AA, there's a retaining wall coming from the west, and there's a lot of water coming down the hill, usually these days after the storm. In winter time, when there will be raining and freezing conditions, you will have a waterfalls, frozen waterfalls on this wall. And I believe this drainage might be not adequate enough. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. very much. Do we have any other questions from the public? I don't see any hands raised at this point.
I am not seeing any, Ken. Up,
Okay.
I am seeing a John Hill.
Oh, hello. This is John Hill. I live up at 56 Worcester Street, for the record. And I just wanted to, I guess, more or less just echo Mr. Kiefer's comments about the fact that that stream does become very flooded, particularly in the stream or after storms. I'm upstream of the property, so I don't know necessarily that my property would be affected. But just to mention that the stream does get, I probably get standing water maybe 10 feet into my, past the stream in early spring, particularly after snow melt. So I appreciate the applicant and the commission looking into this issue.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm seeing a telephone number 203-788-2328. And I will unmute you. Can you hear us?
Hi, my name is Maureen Laura. We're 68 Worcester Street.
Would you mind spelling your name for the record, please?
Sure, it's Maureen, M-A-U-R-E-E-N. The last name is L-O-R-E.
Thank you.
I just wanted to reiterate Mr. Kiefer's sentiments about the water. We're at 68 Worcester Street, so we're up higher than that, but we do walk a lot on the street and see that the stream is overflowing and the water is wet. And we do get a lot of water in our basement too, even though we are above there. I just wanted to say that just for the record.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your input.
I'm not seeing any other comments at this time, Ken.
Excuse me, David.
Yes.
It's Beth Cavagna. I came in late to the meeting and I just want to verify that notifications were sent out and received by anyone within 100 feet of the property, including those across the street.
Oh, yes, Beth. I may be speaking out of turn by saying this, but the certified mail return receipts were sent to us via email this afternoon.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, I don't know if we have any other comments. We do not appear to have any more public comment at this time, apart from a Mr. Peinenberg.
Hello?
Yes, there you go. We can hear you now.
Hi, good evening, David. This is David Peinenberg from 64 Worcester Street. I'm the applicant. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mr. Peinenberg.
Okay. Nita Hill, who lives at, I believe, 60 Worcester Street. She's the neighbor who lives on the other side of the stream. Back about a month and a half ago, I would say, there were some pine trees that were leaning towards her house. She was worried that it was going to fall through the deciduous trees and cause damage there. And upon further inspection, there was 2 or 3 other pine trees that run along that water course that also were tall enough that if they fell the wrong way, they would hit her house. So I removed 2 or 3 of them about, like I said, 6 weeks ago. And then I hired a tree company. It was actually the last week of December to take the rest of the pine trees down. So the only reason I did that was for safety of our neighbor that's next door, Nita Hill. I think she's listening in here. I see her name down. So maybe she can comment on that if she wants to. But that's the only reason I took those trees down, is because she mentioned to me that she was very nervous, and she even said that she couldn't sleep at night because she was worried about the trees that might fall on her house. So that's why that was done at that time. And that's all.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions?
We appear to not have any more at this time.
So,
But I've said that, I've said that
Trinkus or
twice already, so.
Yep, so, Mr. Trinkus or Mr. Marcus, did you have any further comments?
Mr. Chairman, Steve Trinkus for the record. I do not, as I said earlier, will be providing a written response and revised plans for David and Barry to look at.
Thank you. Mr. Marcus? Are you still?
Ken, it appears that Mr. Marcus is no longer on this Zoom meeting with us.
I was just going to say, it looks as though he has left us.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe Neil had another conflict in Brookfield because I spoke with him earlier. So,
all right.
So we would ask you to continue the hearing, I assume, to your February meeting, David? Is that?
Yes, our next regularly scheduled meeting would be held on February 22nd. But before we did continue the public hearing, the members of the commission have been waiting very patiently if they have any questions. Ken, I would advise you open the floor up to them if there's any immediate questions that either myself, Barry, or the applicant can answer before we continue tonight.
You're, as always, one step ahead of me, David. If any of the commission has a question or a comment for the applicant that Mr. Trinkus can address, please bring those up now. Otherwise, we will be meeting again on the 22nd of February, as both Mr. Trinkus and David had already stated. I don't see any questions coming from the commission. I don't have any myself at this time. David, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Not at this time.
Okay, are we back, David? Was I frozen or were you?
I'm not sure.
So my question was, did you have any other questions or comments you wanted to address to the applicant, or should we proceed?
Oh, I apologize. I thought I had answered that. I have no further comment at this
I
time.
couldn't hear anything. So, okay, thank you. So we'll continue, and I never remember, I apologize. Do I need a motion to continue, or can I just continue the hearing?
You wouldn't need a motion. We're just going to continue, but I think we should have, do we have anything, does the commission have anything they would like to have addressed for the 22nd hearing in the process of continuing this hearing?
I don't have anything to add to what you or Barry have already discussed or requested. Other commission members?
I would have you guys chime in if you don't mind, instead of giving your responses visually.
Greg Johnston, Commissioner. I have no further questions. I'm satisfied with what David and Barry brought up, and look forward to hearing from the applicant.
This is Peter Samarek, Vice Chair. I have one quick question. It probably doesn't even apply to what we're talking about, but I'm just curious as to all the water that goes into that drainage ditch, that water course, and the one neighbor complaining about the leaves and the branches, they get caught up in that 24-inch culvert. Are they all individually responsible for keeping that water course clear, or is it a town issue? I'm just curious more than anything else.
Peter, this is Steve Trinkus. I'll address that. The culvert under Worcester Street is a town-owned culvert. The inlet conditions there are not wonderful from a hydraulic standpoint with the way the stream enters the culvert. So it's easy for little twigs to get caught and then bigger things to get caught. but it's a town responsibility.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
David, anything further?
I would defer to confirm that Lou and Pat Sell
Yep.
don't have any questions for us.
Yeah, I'm okay,
No,
David. I have no questions.
I'm okay to February. Thank you.
Okay, so I would advise the chair that we continue this public hearing to our next regular meeting on February 22nd, 2021.
And once again, you're a step ahead of me. That's my next comment. This public hearing will be continued to the Bethel Inland Wetlands Commission meeting scheduled for February the 22nd. Thank you. Next on the agenda.
Before we go on to the agenda, Barry, I'm not sure if we have any other items that we'll be needing you for tonight. I thank you very much for chiming in with your comments. If there's any updates that we get from the applicant, I'll be sure to advise, and we'll take things from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry.
Appreciate your time.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Back to the agenda. The next item is our minutes from our last meeting in January. Has everyone had an opportunity to review, and do I have a motion for approval?
I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 12/7 as written.
And do I have a second? You need to speak,
Second,
David.
Louis.
Thank you very much. So moved. Next on the agenda is the
Aye.
commission.
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah, it's got to vote.
Got to vote on those, Ken.
All in favor?
Aye. Greg Johnston, aye.
Peter, I heard an
Aye,
from you. Lou, you, Pat,
I didn't hear what the question was. Sorry.
all in favor of approving the minutes?
Minutes.
Oh, okay. I'm good.
Good, thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is the application acceptance for Francis J. Clark Circle, number 25, to construct an industrial building and parking area, including a retaining wall, stormwater management system improvements, and grading improvements within a regulated upland review area. The application was received on 1/20/21. We need to formally accept it. So do I have a motion to do so?
Well, before we get into that real quick, Ken, let me give you some context on the application real quick, and I see to go backwards for a brief moment. Neil, if you can hear us as you're entering the meeting, we have continued the public hearing for 64 Worcester Street to February 22nd, and we'll be awaiting responses from Mr. Trinkus and the soil scientist and whoever else would be involved as applicable.
Yes, thank you. I apologize to the commission, and I had to leave to be at a public hearing in Brookfield. You know, it's interesting. In the days before Zoom, I would sometimes have to try to do this in my car as I raced from Brookfield to Bethel and back. It is a lot easier tonight. So I didn't mean to be rude and jump out, but I knew I was going to be reached, and I joined at the right time and came back. But I appreciate the continuation of the hearing, because I think that's what Steve Trinkus had indicated we needed to do. I've got a list of comments, particularly from you, David, and from Barry, that we will address. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Have a good night.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks.
You
Bye-bye.
too, sir.
Enjoy Brookfield.
Yeah, I'm through. I'm back.
Okay, so to get back to the matter at hand here, I believe we were in the process of accepting an application for a 25 Francis J. Clark Circle. The name of the applicant, Infinity Enterprises LLC. I'm just going to bring the plans up on my screen. Folks, let me know if you can see what I give there for everybody. You may be familiar with this site just from your travels on the Francis J. Clark Business Park. There is already a structure that exists on this property. And what the application entails is for a second structure to be constructed behind the existing one going south on Trowbridge Drive. I'll try to keep my comments on this short as we're only accepting this tonight. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it, David.
Okay.
Dave, can you bring that up just
Yeah.
a titch?
Yeah, I'm going to zoom in on that. Thank
Like,
you, Lou.
yeah,
Is that better?
much.
Okay,
A
great.
tidge? What the heck's a tidge?
So what we have here is Francis J. Clark Circle and Trowbridge Drive. This is the site, 25 Francis J. Clark Circle. You'll note that there's a building and an existing parking area here that's been recently installed, as well as an existing parking area that's denoted by this dashed line here to the rear of this structure. What's being proposed by the applicant is for this parking area upslope of this existing building to be modified so that it is more rectangular in nature, and for it to serve a proposed independent structure here, which roughly comes out to 13,000 square feet, if I'm remembering my numbers correctly. This building, a portion of it is within the regulated upland review area. The wetlands from which that area stems are off to the north of the property here, for if I have my bearings correct. Along with this building, we have a portion of the parking area that's proposed to be within that regulated upland review area, as well as a portion of the stormwater management system. There is going to be some grading for what I've read that's going to have to occur on this property, some excavation and some fill. I'll try to give some numbers real quick on this without getting too far into the weeds. The applicant is proposing to disturb the numbers for you, Kathy, 18,355 square feet of regulated upland review area. That's 18355. I don't have the number for the total regulated upland review area on the property, and the area of wetlands on the property. I think one item that should be noted, the applicant did indicate that they were going to submit a soils report. We have not received that yet, but it is to my understanding the applicant intends to do so, I believe, by the end of this week. They're looking for this application to be accepted, whether it's as a site plan review or as a public hearing. I'll just remind the commission or just point out there do not appear to be any direct impacts to wetlands proposed with this improvement with the building here. The activities, while they are in close proximity, do not appear to have any points that directly discharge towards the wetland. As I mentioned, there's that stormwater management component that's going to be modified to address the new impervious area created by this building. If the commission deems this application to be in the public's interest, I certainly wouldn't dissuade you from that. But, you know, as part of us accepting this application, we would need to decide what process we would go through to do that. So if you guys want me to, I can scroll through the pages here real quick. I can go through anything else. If you guys happen to have it handy in front of you with your Google Drives or as hard copies, I can take a few minutes for you guys to go through them, and we can come up with a consensus for what we do with this.
Hey,
okay?
David,
Yeah.
didn't we do this? We did the site walk on this, and I don't think we found any major issues. And I think where it is now, I don't think it requires a public hearing. And I think maybe we could just accept this as it's
Peter,
submitted with the addition of the additional piece of plan they're supposed to come to us with.
Peter, I may be confused, but I believe this is the new and distinct site from the one we did the walk on in the fall.
That is
That's
correct. I actually am going to bring that up now so that we can see the fact, or so that the commission can kind of get their bearings for where we are and where we have been already. I'm just going to do it via Google Maps here. Where are we? Please bear with me. A little farther south. Okay. Okay, so the application that the Inland Wetlands Commission approved earlier well, no, I shouldn't say earlier, previously, late last year, was for 17 Francis J. Clark Circle. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that would have been for this building here, further up Francis J. Clark Circle. What we're looking at, what has been submitted for us tonight is this property here that I have my cursor circling over, 25 Francis Clark. That's a different parcel entirely. We have not been out there. It's been some time since this parcel has been before the commission. So I just want to make sure we don't get those two mixed up.
Okay, I stand corrected. I was mixed up.
I understand and know the feeling.
It's because I'm old.
Do I have any comment and or input from you guys as to how we would proceed with this application that's been submitted to us?
This is Ken, for the record, Ken Stevens. I would suggest that we at least at a minimum do a site walk. I don't know that it substantiates a public hearing at all, but I think that we probably need to get out there and do a site walk.
Okay.
And then we do that soon.
I would agree with that. What I would advise is that we conclude how we would accept this application first before we go into the logistics of a site walk.
I started to do that, but
sorry, I don't mean to cut to the chase.
I would recommend to the commission that we accept this application. And again, David, you need to tell me, do I need a motion or not? I don't recall.
We would need a motion to accept this application, and I would just want to get confirmation from the commission if there's any information apart from what's been given already that they would need in the process to accept this. Like I said, we do have a soils report, and you know, apart from that, the commission has everything they need to accept this application. We just need to figure out whether or not it would be via site plan review or public hearing.
I make a motion that we accept it as is with the information provided. And then once we're on the sidewalk, if we determine we need any additional information, we can request it from the applicant at that time.
Okay. Would this be for a site plan review? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is for a site plan review.
Okay.
I don't believe, as I said earlier, that we need a public hearing.
Okay.
And this is Peter Somatic, the vice chair, and I second that motion. No, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm looking to see if the agenda.
Okay, so we got
Mm.
an aye from Lou, we got an aye from Peter, we got an aye from Gregory, and we got an aye from Pat. I see her with the thumbs up. Okay, thank you very much.
So
don't-
we've go ahead.
Go ahead, David.
So we've accepted this application, and now we're going to go into the logistics for when we would open this this site plan review and when we would conduct the site walk.
All
Site
right,
walks
what's the suggested date then for the site walk?
I would suggest we, prior to our next meeting,
It's 22nd.
Saturdays typically work well for me for site walks. And I think it's in the past.
Saturday mornings, like we've been doing, 9 o'clock.
I would suggest that Saturday morning, February the 2nd or 9th at 9 o'clock.
February 2nd is a
David,
month.
The
from
9th.
9th
No.
is not a Saturday.
No,
Nope.
no.
I'm looking at, I'm sorry. I'm
9th is
looking
a
at
Tuesday. That's a Tuesday.
David, Lewis, rather. I got it. I'm looking at January's calendar instead of February's.
That's okay. No problem.
February 6th or 13th.
It's gonna be all that Naples nice weather you had down there.
Yeah, I'm not down there right now, though. I'm in Bethel.
No, I'm just
6th or
saying.
the 13th.
You want to do
I'm
the
good.
6th or?
Sixth.
All right.
I'm good for the 6th. Do we have a motion for a site walk at 25 Francis J. Clark for February the 6th at 9 a.m.?
Second that.
All in
Good.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
David was the second, Kathy, in case you missed him. Lewis.
Um,
Lou, I keep going. Lou.
That's okay.
let me just ask one last question of the commission regarding this application. So we have a site walk tentatively scheduled for the 6th of February at 9 o'clock. Are there any specific items that the commission would like to have staked or flagged or identified so that we know where it is from a locational standpoint when we're there on the site walk?
I would
I'm
think
sorry. I'm sorry,
everything that
David.
we have to pinpoint, to get our answers, yeah. So we have a good bearing of what we're looking at sometimes. Sometimes it's a little misleading what we're looking at without the stakes. So if they could just kind of stake out exactly what they're doing, and it'd be a lot easier for all of us.
Right. So would that just to try to clarify, would that be the corners of the building that are within the regulated upland review area? Would that be the parking area?
Greg
I would say
Johnston,
both.
Commissioner. I would think both, and then, can I assume that the upland review area is also staked right now, or would they have to do that?
I don't think the upland review area states. I don't see.
Or the wetlands area is? Or?
Well, right. I mean, the wetlands areas, absolutely, those should be flagged.
Okay.
I think that would be important so that from a context perspective, the commission knows where that is. In fact, I would almost think that knowing where the wetlands are is more important than knowing how far 100 feet from the wetlands is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we have the corners of the building that if I heard correctly, I did mention the parking lot, but I just want to confirm, is there anything else that we would want staked?
David, I'm sorry, the technology that we're using wasn't really providing ample hearing for me, and I just want to make sure that I heard correctly. We're going to ask the applicant to stake the corners of the building and any upland review areas that are on the property? The
Not
parking
so.
lot, is that what I heard?
Yeah, not so much the upland review area as the area of the building where the corners are anyway, and the portion of the parking area, its edges that are within the regulated upland review area. That's what I've understood so far.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on this application?
Okay. So as this is been accepted via a site plan review, we will need to open this at our next regularly scheduled meeting on February 22nd. If there are any materials that come to us for this application between now and then, I'll be sure to forward them to you. For right now, we're just sticking with items that relate to what we can see and where things are, and that will be prepared for our site walk, tentatively scheduled for February 6th.
Sounds great.
Okay, Ron, I'm assuming you must be Mr. Wolf. Nice to meet you. I don't know if you've caught all of that, but that's where the commission stands now. I'm sure as we proceed through this week and the next, if we have any questions, I'll be sure to reach out to you.
Yeah, we'll get those items staked out for you right away.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I see nothing else on the agenda. David, you didn't have a report at the time the agenda was made. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do, and I will keep it brief.
How did I know that?
You read my mind, Ken. I appreciate that. And the only reason why I didn't have it on the agenda was because it was an item that came in from DEEP last Friday after I had published the agenda, and I didn't think amending the agenda to have a report that really doesn't concern us per se be put on it. We were CC'd, so to speak, on a permit application for the use of pesticides in state waters from DEEP for an address 24 Kellogg Street. The water body where the pesticides would be applied is called Queso Pond. If the commission is so curious to see what these kind of permits entail, it more or less describes the pesticides that are going to be applied at that water body, where that water body is, and when those pesticides would be applied. It's a pretty straightforward item that DEEP gives us at this time of year. It wouldn't surprise me if we have a few more of these that I will also report on at our next meeting in February and perhaps at our meeting after that in March. And they'll all pretty much say the same thing: pesticide, how much, and what water body it's for. Other than that, I don't have any other comments. I appreciate the commission being patient with whatever questions or thoughts they had tonight for the public hearing. I'm sure we'll have more discussion on that at our next meeting on the 22nd. I don't have any other items for the commission tonight. I hope between now and when I see you all on the 6th that you guys stay safe. Fingers crossed that those of us who can get vaccines, if you haven't done so already, get them soon.
Thank you, Dave. And I'm going to make every attempt between now and our next meeting to get a piece of equipment that I can actually hear and see on with Zoom. I have an Acer Chromebook, and it works really well, except for this. So
it's funny. The one member of the commission that really could help in this area, unfortunately, isn't here tonight. So we'll have to see if we can get Pat Kerford.
He has had his crew out here twice.
Wow.
And they can find no issues. So it's got to be the Chromebook.
Okay.
It's just, I guess. So with that, I thank everyone for their time, and I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Was that you, Greg? Second, you beat Peter.
Oh, no, I did not. That was Peter.
It was me.
And I, Peter, second, all in favor.
All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much. Have a great week. See you soon.